Britt here. How are you? Want to chat with you just for a few minutes about what is going on. We have historically done newsletters. We sent them out monthly and given you all the details about what has happened in the previous month and what's coming up in the future months. And those have been really good. The only problem with those is that they take a very, very long time to put together, and the summer is crazy, and we're finding that our fall schedule is even getting crazier, and we just have not had the time to put those together. But we do know that obviously communication with you is very, very important, and so we're going to try something new, and I'm just going to ask you to bear with us as we kind of figure out technology and what the best way would be to do this. But we're going to try to keep you informed via video. So I hope this works out. And I know maybe not the most ideal thing, but we think that moving forward this could save us a lot of time and still get you the information that you need. I want to chat with you just for a few minutes about our summer, what happened in the summer, and then I want to talk to you about what's going on because we've got some changes coming up that you need to know about. Our summer was just filled with activity, probably one of the most influential summers that I've been a part of, that I really feel like God did really massive things. And we took 9 students to St. Mark, Haiti, and spent about a week there, and God showed up the moment that we stepped foot on the grounds of Haiti. And the missionaries were just very complimentary of our students and how they handled themselves and how clearly it was that God was working in them and through them. And so one of my favorite parts was we showed up to the villages and we literally went Jehovah's Witness style on them and just started knocking on doors and praying with people and talking to them about Jesus. And the response was overwhelming, and really was clear that God was doing work in the hearts of the people who we were speaking with, but he was also working in us as we spoke, and was just kind of doing work in our hearts. And it was incredible, the stories and the testimonies that came from that trip. A couple weeks later, we took 60 of our own students to Lake Wales, Florida, and we put on a camp called Camp Authentic. 15 other students joined us for a total of 75 students, and we literally planned the camp from beginning to the end. That was not the original plan, but we pulled it off, and by we I really mean God pulled it off. It was an amazing experience. If your student went to Camp Authentic, I'm sure you've heard all about it, and we're just excited about what God did at that camp, and it'd be very hard to put into words exactly what went down, but God just again showed up and just started changing hearts and changing lives, and giving kids a hope. And that's been clear as we've returned and just seen kind of the spiritual progression of a lot of our students, that God used that week as a big life changer in the hearts of our students. And so we've already actually got our dates for next year. I want to give this to you now just because we've already had a couple families tell us that they want to know so they can build their vacations around our camp. And so maybe you're not flexible enough to do that, but I'd like to give you those to you now in case that's an option. And those dates are June 18th through the 24th. June 18th through the 24th. Camp is going to look very similar. There will be a lot of changes, but I wanted to just give you the dates now so you can plan ahead for that. Looking forward to Camp Authentic 2013. So moving forward, we have a few things that are going to be a little different, and I want to chat with you about that now. In the summer, we did something called Merge, and Merge is when we brought high school and we brought middle school together, and we just met together. And there were a lot of things that we saw that we really liked. One of the things that we saw was our transition students, our 8th graders, and maybe some 9th graders. We saw that the relationships they had with the younger kids and the older kids, they didn't get hurt at all. And so what has historically happened was an 8th grader would have great relationships with 6th and 7th graders because those are the kids who they would normally meet with. They would go to team and then kind of feel left out. And so the transition was very difficult because they would either have to leave some of their friends or go into an environment where they felt uncomfortable. And so what we found was that the 8th and 9th graders were great because they could hang out with their younger friends and they could hang out with their older friends, and there was no really dilemma there for them at all. What we also saw was we saw a lot of younger kids have the opportunity to kind of look up to some of our high school leaders. And so they got the chance to see what it's like to be a high schooler and live for Jesus, and to go into your school and not be ashamed. And so we saw that. We also saw the third thing that we really liked was it gave our older students the opportunity to really lead and to set an example for those younger students. And so there was just a lot of dynamics that we saw that we really liked, and frankly we just don't really want to get rid of. And so we do know that there's some maybe not ideal things that come with that, and we're going to be super sensitive to those things. But at the end of the day, we feel like after much thought and prayer and talk with different youth pastors and the staff here and parents and students, that we're going to keep it that way. And so moving forward, Cru on Wednesday nights is essentially going to become Merge, and we're not going to call it Merge. We're going to call it Cru, but Cru is going to be for both middle school and high school students on Wednesday night from 6 to 7:30. And so what we've done the entire summer really is not going to change. All that's going to change is instead of calling it Merge or Team or Merge or Cream, some are calling it, we are going to just call it Cru. As we thought more about this process, we really believed that the high school students did need some time to themselves. So they really needed some time to just kind of be high school students and to get away from some of the youngness that comes with being a middle school student. And so we are going to offer that environment in the form of a small group. And we're going to do that on Sunday nights, and we're actually going to call that Team. So some of the terminology that you've heard historically here is going to remain the same. It's just going to look a little bit different. And so Team is going to now be on Sunday nights from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, and Team is going to meet in homes. Homes are going to be for the entire month. And so if we start in a home in September, that home is going to be the host home for small groups the entire month. And then in October will be a new home, and then November will be a new home. December we're actually going to take off from Team, and then we'll crank back up in January with a new home. So we set it up this way because we wanted kids to be able to remember where we were meeting and not have to worry about every week where it is the next week. And so we'll keep you posted, and students posted via Facebook and text on what the address and location of that is. That environment's going to look really, really relaxed. There'll always be food provided, and essentially we're going to gather and we're just going to chat about life, about what's good, about what's bad, about what's making us anxious, what's bothering us, what's worrying us. And so we're going to get into all of this and really allow kids to share. We'll probably bring an acoustic guitar, so if we feel like the Lord's kind of leading us to sing some songs, we may sing some songs in worship. We'll of course bring our Bibles, and we'll get into some of the scriptures, and of course we would pray. And so the whole environment though is going to be really unstructured and relaxed, and just kind of let God do what He wants to do with that particular night. And so Cru is very we've got it all regimented out. We've got each second planned. Team will be much different. It'll be much more relaxed and a lot less scheduled activity. And so I'm actually very excited about what this means for us, what this looks like, at the potential it has for us to grow as a group. And so I want to encourage you to encourage your kids in this. Explain to them some of the reasons maybe why we're doing it and why we think it's beneficial. Actually, most of the feedback that we've gotten is positive, with the occasional one or two comments that I'm worried about my middle school kid being with a senior, and so or my senior having to put up with a sixth or a seventh grader. And so we're completely aware of those dynamics, and we're going to do everything that we can to be sensitive to those. But I think that there's just way more positive that outweighs some of those questions. And so if you could encourage your kids, especially if you have a high school student, we really don't want your high school students to have to choose Cru or Team. We really would love for them to be a part of both, and we think both are going to be influential in their spiritual growth, the ability to lead and also be led. And so they'll get the ability to lead at Cru and then be more led at Team. And so we think that is just very important, and we don't want them to really just choose one or the other. And so we know it may be a little inevitable that might just happen, but if you could help us as a parent to just kind of push them a little bit in both directions, that would be great. I want to just offer my cell phone and my email to you. That way if you have any questions or concerns, we can make sure to hear all of those out and just be sensitive to what you're seeing and thinking. Even if it's a specific thing that's going on in the life of your student and you want to just chat with us, please feel free to call. My cell phone is 239-898-8885, and my email is B as in boy, R-I-T as in Tom, C17@gmail.com. And email is probably a little better, but please feel free to contact me anytime if you have concerns or questions. And so we're going to probably shoot out another video in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to try to keep them as short. I'm going to talk as fast as I can so you're not sitting there wasting a bunch of your time. But we hope this new idea works out. We hope that you can get the information that you need from the video. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.